Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 28th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. I welcome everybody to another meeting of the Matt Shodell fan club because, man, they are lining up in force in your camp, Matt, after...
I don't think that. I think it's more against you than with me, but okay, I'll take it.
Well, you lined up in the just totally obliterate and destroy the life of Tyler Van Dyke, and I didn't. And you are the popular voice right now in that regard.
Listen, that's your words. That's not what I actually said. I mean, do you want me to specify what I said, or
everything is
tape again from yesterday?
Everything is Tyler Van Dyke's fault. The team losing to Middle Tennessee is Tyler Van Dyke's fault. The team giving up 21 points on free bombs where slow cornerbacks were covering fast wide receivers was Tyler Van Dyke's fault. The offense's inability to be able to run the ball against Middle Tennessee State and pick up a single yard in many cases was Tyler Van Dyke's fault. And now Tyler Van Dyke, the face of the Miami Hurricanes football team this year, the guy that is predicted to be the first round selection at quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes in a couple decades, Matt? I mean, Ken Dorsey, the last great quarterback, got drafted in the 7th round. Okay. Miami has not had a talent like this at quarterback in decades. Okay. And now the popular opinion and the Matt Shodell stance, which is very popular, is to just finish this guy's career at the University of Miami, send him to the transfer portal, and start ACC play with a quarterback that I love, by the way. I mean, Jake Garcia is one of my favorite guys that's been in this program for a long time. I mean, he's such a good kid, and he's so charismatic, and you just do nothing but pull for the guy. Let me make that clear. I am a Jake Garcia fan, but we are supposed to now go into ACC play and just say, Tyler, you've been having problems, whether it's the new offense isn't fitting you, whether the new quarterback coach you're working with is not blending well with you, the whole chemistry on offense isn't working. Something has happened to you here in the first few weeks of the season. We don't care whether it's your fault or our fault or nobody's fault or just a lot of forces coming together all at once that are working against you. We've had it with you, Tyler. We want you to leave the University of Miami and go off somewhere else. And we are going to go into ACC play, and we are going to play and start a quarterback who played a few plays against Southern Connecticut State, who played a few plays against Bethune-Cookman, who played a quarter and a half against Middle Tennessee State the other day. And now the entire fate of this entire 2022 season is going to be in his hands, as opposed to the guy that has played 11, 12 football games at this point of his career. Okay, I get the viewpoint. I just don't agree with it. But I don't know that we should spend this whole show arguing about quarterbacks again. What do you think?
I mean, I'll just say very briefly, since you go on and on about it.
No, I only went on for 2 minutes.
Can I just talk for like a minute straight?
2 minutes, man. People want you punching me and everything. Did you see the comments on YouTube? Oh, my God.
So this has never been about ending anyone's career. This is my opinion about who I think is better.
What are you talking about? Don't soften your stance. What, now you're going to play musical quarterbacks the rest of the season? No. If you bench Tyler Van Dyke, you are committing to Jake Garcia. You can't do it any other way. Go ahead.
If you just want to talk, I'm happy to sit here and look at you. I mean, I don't understand why I can't get a word in.
I'm flabbergasted.
This is about my opinion on who is the better quarterback to win the first game in the ACC schedule. I think it's Jake Garcia, which is what I said yesterday. Gary, you said that's about ending his career, whatever. I would not at all be surprised if Tyler Van Dyke indeed does start against North Carolina. As a matter of fact, if I was forced to bet on it right now, I would bet on that. And the reason being, Josh Gaddis, as our most offensive coordinators, they are stubborn. This is the guy that he picked to be his quarterback. This is the guy he gave every single first-team rep to in the fall. Every single one. He didn't even say, hey, let's have a contingency plan. Let's give Jake Garcia some 1 reps. Spring and fall, this is Tyler Van Dyke's team, period. If he is labeled as the guy who Tyler Van Dyke was amazing with Rhett Lashley, if Josh Gaddis is labeled as the guy who somehow ruined Miami's first round pick, like you said, forever, he will be forever labeled as the guy who somehow messed up Tyler Van Dyke, who was his NFL first round pick. He doesn't want to be labeled that. All coordinators are stubborn, not just Josh. I think they are going to stick with Tyler Van Dyke because that's what these guys do. My opinion is he should not. It's that simple.
You're willing, on behalf of the fan base, to, I mean, think back to when Brad Kaya played for the first time. Tyler Van Dyke was like almost like, I mean, he had a couple games that were so before he caught fire last year. But it is so hard for a quarterback playing for the first time on a team that is not real good, okay? That doesn't have receivers, that's down to its 5th team running back, that has an erratic offensive line. You're going to take a kid that's never played and you're going to throw him into the fray with that, okay, and expect him to be Superman, and it's not going to happen. Okay.
Ask Sam Howell his opinion. I could give you 10 different guys who could ask their opinion. I'm not going to argue about
Sam Howell
a lack of experience. He has a lack of experience.
Sam Howell was a first-round draft pick who had way better talent around him than what Miami has right now.
He has a lack of experience. Tyler has a lack of execution. I don't know which is worse.
Tyler has a lack of execution for the last couple games. You have 2 weeks of practice now to straighten it out. Now, if you go through these 2 weeks of practice and he's practicing like garbage and he's not executing.
You just hit the nail on the head. There are players, and I've said this a million times, who practice amazingly well. Tyler Van Dyke is an amazing practice player, and he was amazing on field last year. But it just seems like this year he still looked great. Every time we've seen him in practice, he looks like a different guy in the games. And Jake Garcia, we've said in practice, doesn't look at Tyler Van Dyke's level, but then he gets in the games and he looks great. So I have a weird feeling that Jake plays better in games and Tyler has the reverse effect mentally. And I don't know. That's my guess. But that's a true fact with some players. Some players are just better gamers than others. That's why there's a term called gamers.
Matt, what are you judging? You're judging a couple passes against Middle Tennessee State? Yes, that first pass he threw down the field was phenomenal. Again, I am a Jake Garcia fan. I have been saying for more than a year that if you had taken a straw poll back early last September and asked everybody in the organization who's the future quarterback going to be for Miami, I think at least 75 would have said Jake Garcia. I am full all in the Jake Garcia camp, but I can detach from that and think logically about this ACC schedule that's getting ready to start. And if Miami ends up with 6 wins this season, the Canes Nation is going to be jumping off cliffs at the Grand Canyon, okay? And the best chance to win games right now is the quarterback that has experience. He has to get his crap together. And that's Frank Ponce's job. That's Josh Gaddis's job. And they have 2 weeks to prepare for North Carolina to figure out what's in the offense that he's comfortable with, what is giving him problems, what is he thinking, why is he struggling so much on game day. They have 2 weeks now to take a deep breath and straighten it out. And I think they will give him the first chance to do so. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he stinks up the practice field. And maybe they say, "Oh, we can't play."
Tyler's one of the greatest practice players you'll see. He's always great in practice.
So then you got to give him a chance. You got to give him a chance. He's your best physical quarterback that you have had in this program, probably since the maybe Testaverde, Craig Erickson era. I mean, I'm trying to think who was better. You don't just give up, on a whim because you're angry. And I get it. Everybody is mad as heck. I've had more Canes fans in the last 48 hours calling me on the phone just to vent and screaming into my ears about how frustrated they are about losing that game Saturday. I totally get it. But this is a separate issue. And this is a very tough situation for Mario to manage because of the angry mob. But to me, common sense is you go through these 2 weeks of practice, you see how he practices, and then you make an evaluation. If he practices well, you got to put him out there against North Carolina. If things go poorly, then you got another decision to make. This is why the head coach makes $8 million a year. But I'm not.
Look, the North Carolina defense is awful. Whoever plays, either one of them should light it up. If they don't, there's something wrong. Period with this program. You asked how I know Jake's a gamer. I talked to all 18 of his high school coaches his senior year. He's a guy who shows up in games. That's when he shows up. Like, that's his 100%. Like, you may not want to believe it. You may say, oh, he has no experience. But you talk to people who have coached him in the past. That's what they say. I mean, what do you want me to tell you, Gary? The guy.
I will predict. How many games did they lose last year starting a first-time quarterback?
2.
No, I mean, okay, yeah, you take out the first game. I mean, it was at least 3 or 4.
And keep. Let me say this too. Because I know you love hearing your own voice, but let me say one thing. This is the bigger picture problem. Jake Garcia, if they do go with Tyler Van Dyke and they stick with it, and he has a great game against North Carolina, which he should if he starts because they're awful on defense, and then he keeps starting Duke's. Then 2 games later, they're awful. Virginia Tech might have a decent defense, but they're certainly not that like they used to be. So he could have a really good 3 games, get rolling, whatever. And then he comes back because I don't think he recovers from this to be a first-round NFL draft personally. And then Jake Garcia leaves, and I don't know. I don't know where you go. I don't understand why coaches, I don't know. I don't know what coaches want to do, what they think, if they think Jake Garcia is terrible. I don't know. But I would like to find out what Jake Garcia has and give him a game. Tell Tyler, listen, we're just going to give Jake 1 game. I don't see what the big deal is. Like, you think Tyler Van Dyke's head's going to explode and he'll never be able to throw a pass again. I think they can give Jake a chance against an awful North Carolina defense and see where that goes. I don't think they will. I think they should.
How are you going to recruit quarterbacks in the future if you take a guy that had a great last half of the season last year that people are saying is a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft in April, and he has a couple bad games, and you bench him forever and kick him out of your program?
Right.
How are you ever going to recruit a top-tier quarterback ever again? The negative recruiting that this program would face for doing that would be just insane.
Yeah, never happened anywhere before. This has never happened.
No defense for it, Matt.
This is why you hit the nail on the head. This is why Josh Gaddis will start Tyler Van Dyke because of all
Tyler Van Dyke. So why is everybody?
He cannot face the prospect that he ruined Tyler Van Dyke, which is what all the negative recruiting will be about. He can't start Jake Garcia. He can't. He's in a corner where he has to start Tyler, even though every fan out there wants Jake to start this game, except for Gary Ferman and maybe a few others.
Matthew, it's a mob. Coaches can't make decisions based on a mob uprising, okay? Like, think about that, what you just said. Josh Gaddis, what if it's his freaking fault? What if it's his fault?
Well, that's what the perception's going to be if he benches.
But what if it's his fault? So now you're gonna ruin this kid's career. You're going to ruin this program. You're going to ruin the kid's program.
It's not about one individual. It's not. Listen, it's not. It's not about one individual. You keep thinking about one individual.
If you have a couple rough games and you get put on the shelf for the rest of your career and get sent to the transfer portal, because that is what will be happening. It's listen, I'm trying to look at this sensibly. I've seen all the bad throws. I've seen all the struggles. I've seen the body language, which was horrendous. Every time he threw a bad pass, he throws his arms. He was throwing his arms up. I mean, he was just, he couldn't believe how poorly he was throwing the ball. Or maybe receivers weren't running the right routes and at the right distances, which we don't know. And no one's going to throw them under the bus like that. There are so many things that could be and probably are going on with this offense right now. And I get it. Everyone is mad as freaking hell over losing to Middle Tennessee State. Everybody in the Canes Nation thought this was over. This was never happening again. But you got to be able to detach and have just a little bit of human compassion for this kid who has more talent than any quarterback that's been in this program in decades. Okay. And I get it. He's probably not going to be a first-round draft pick this year anymore. He's going to have to play another year, whether it's here or somewhere else. I don't think you just give up on him like that. I think that you got to see how he goes through practice this week and next week. And then Mario Cristobal will have to make a decision. And if he's struggling in practice, which Matt is saying he probably won't because he never does. And I agree. I've never seen him struggle in practice. I've never seen anything like this ever on the practice field. But if he does struggle in practice, then you got a decision to make, and you probably got to go with Jake Garcia. But I'm expecting the former to happen. But anyway, Matt, the point of all this was it's just amazing what a hot button this is. We talked about it on yesterday's show. There were 230 comments about it on YouTube yesterday, and it's really incredible. Just what a hot button this has become for the fan base. And I've heard from so many boosters and other people interested in the program. And like people are screaming and yelling, and like people are passionate about this. I mean, it is really like taking on a life of its own. So anyway, how does that pertain to the news of the day today? Well, we don't have another quarterback story today, but we do have a blog with Xavier Restrepo, who happens to be Tyler Van Dyke's roommate, probably his best friend on the team. He's obviously rehabbing from his injury. And that's the other thing I'll throw out there, Matt. What do you think the impact was of losing Restrepo, the one receiver on the team that we know that Tyler Van Dyke had enormous confidence in, that we watched him on the practice field throw successful pass after successful pass to? There was no question Restrepo was going to be the most reliable and best receiver on this year's team. And he loses him, now for probably the majority of the season. It could be. So that's a factor. And then the next best receiver, who's probably Keyshawn Smith, somebody decided that he only needed to be on the field one out of every 3 plays last week. I don't think he was hurt. I mean, later in the game, he returned that kickoff for a touchdown, so he couldn't have been hurt. Why wasn't he in the game? Why, what happened? Who was in charge of doing the rotations at receiver that wasn't putting Keyshawn Smith on the football field? This is why I call it a complete organizational, just bad day at the office. They're going to have to own it and come back better for it. I guarantee you that is what Mario Cristobal will try to do. But anyway, back to the news of the day. We do have a blog with Xavier Restrepo today, updating his injury, talking about his frustrations and not being able to help the team. And Matt, you were with Xavier yesterday. What was your feeling coming out of that?
That Jake Garcia is the best quarterback on the team. No, he's obviously going to be a Tyler fan. I mean, he likes both quarterbacks. He says both quarterbacks are great, but he's Tyler's roommate and best friend. I mean, it doesn't take a lot to realize that he and Tyler have a very special bond. But yeah, Xavier, it's keeping his spirits up, and I'm a big fan of his, as everybody knows. Covered him since high school, and it's a little tough seeing him, wheeling himself around with his leg up in a boot around campus. I asked him if he was getting piggyback rides from any of the offensive linemen or Tyler Van Dyke, to which he responded, no piggyback rides. But he is getting some car rides. I guess Tyler has a car, perhaps from an NIL deal. I guess Xavier doesn't have a car or can't drive it because of his boot. By the way, there's something called the left-footed accelerator. You know what that is? I had knee surgery on my right knee for a torn meniscus once, for a jumping off a fence injury. And I actually had to get a permit to be able to get a left-footed accelerator where you push your left foot down on the pedal and it has a bar across to the other side to put a roller down on your gas pedal. I think they should outlaw that because it's very dangerous. But I did drive like that for a couple of weeks. But the offense almost looks like it's being run by somebody who has a left-footed accelerator because it's just not going smoothly. And Xavier acknowledges that. Xavier does not have an explanation for it. Xavier says all the receivers are doing great. So they have the best practice he's ever seen yesterday. And everything's fantastic in Miami Hurricanes land.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I believe they didn't see this coming. I mean, I do believe that. I mean, if Mario saw this coming, he would have, tried to do something about it. I think they were blindsided by this, but yeah, things were off. All right, let's take a moment. Let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hey, Morgan. What are you going to do?
I have to go to practice.
Me too.
Well, don't forget your life wallet.
Oh my gosh, I always forget my life wallet.
You forget everything.
I can't go anywhere without my life wallet.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
Does Life Wallet save football careers also? Saving.
The truth is, Tyler should come out and do great against North Carolina. He should. If he doesn't, there's a problem. If he starts that game and he does great, maybe he just keeps rolling and gets his mojo back. It's just so disturbing what we've seen these last 3 games. Quite honestly, it's inexplicable. I don't think Tyler has an explanation for it, and it's very disheartening. And the hope was that he would have a great year and move to the NFL. And if he doesn't, that's a problem, because then you have Tyler, who may have these same problems next year. Jake would leave, I believe, in that circumstance if Tyler starts this whole rest of the season. And they have Ja'Cory Brown, who Gary Ferman says will move to wide receiver. And
no, that is not what I said. I said I would like to see him take reps at wide receiver.
And they've got a couple of other freshmen.
Have you seen anything from the wide receivers this year that suggests they couldn't use some help? What if he would have been able to catch the ball and do a decent job?
And they've got a couple of true freshmen. And they got a couple of And they have a couple of true freshman quarterbacks that would be coming in that Gary says you can't play them either because they have no experience. So you're basically just stuck with Tyler again. And if he has the mental hiccups next year, Gary Ferman says there's nobody else to play. So you're just stuck with him. So that's the issue, I don't know. I don't know that there's an answer for it, except for hopefully Tyler to get his mojo back and play unbelievably well if he does start this game and go to the NFL. Like let's keep that hope alive, because that's the best case scenario. And the worst case scenario is for Miami to not announce a starter until the day of the game, and all these fans are hoping it's Jake Garcia, and then Tyler comes out for the first snap and the boos rain down. That would be bad. I'm hoping they announce a quarterback starter on Monday, even though they probably won't. But that's going to happen, Gary, right? If Tyler Van Dyke comes out and they don't announce it beforehand, and he comes out for that first snap, what do the fans do? What's your opinion?
I know. I knew this was coming when he got pulled. It was the whole thing the other day was such a mess. It was a program altering mess. It really was. And Mario's got to figure out how to navigate through this. It's not what the script was, no doubt about it. But when you change quarterbacks, this is what happens. You have a quarterback controversy, you have a quarterback debate, and there's just no getting around it. And everybody just forgets everything that quarterback that was the starter might have done in the past. They want their blood, they want their revenge, and they want him out of here. And we'll just have to see what happens. I don't know. I'm just cautioning. There's ramifications to that too. All right, we have a few recruiting stories on the website today. Miami is expanding its recruiting base. We have a story about Savannah, Georgia, Calvary Day School defensive tackle Terry Simmons. He is a Duke commitment. Miami's got him on their radar. They like him a lot. They're working to set up a visit with him. So we've got an update on that on the website. We also have an update on a defensive end from Vicksburg, Mississippi, by the name of Caleb Bryant. He is a former Utah commit, got a Miami offer all the way back in March. At that time, it was his second major offer. So we have an update on his recruitment as well.
Hey, I'm gonna do a impersonation for you. You ready, Gary? You ready? Okay. Who am I? That's Tyler Van Dyke, either after he threw an 80-yard touchdown or after he threw an interception return for a touchdown. He has the same face either way. That's my impersonation.
No, listen, I'm sure this whole thing has not been very easy.
Listen, I just want him to be more emotional. I really do. He needs to step up. Forget the quarterback stuff. He needs to be a leader. If he's going to be the guy, we know Jake Garcia is somebody who gets the players riled up, the fans riled up. Tyler Van Dyke, if he does wind up starting, I don't know if he will, but if he does wind up starting, he needs to show that he has some emotion in there. Not the stone face, not the slumped shoulders, not the, dejectedly walking off the field after a third down conversion doesn't happen. Head up high, man. Patting guys on the back, getting in people's faces if they're not playing right. Somebody runs the wrong route, you tell them it to their face. You see him, when they show the close-ups on the screens in the press box, and he's just moping around on the sidelines with nobody even near him. That has to stop. If they want to start him next game for whatever reason, which I laid out the reasons why I think they will, if he does start the next game, that has to be gone. And I hope some coach has told him that. Take charge of the team. This is your last chance. Whatever the heck it is, I don't know if it'll be his last chance because Like I said, Josh Gaddis doesn't want to be the guy who ruined Tyler Van Dyke. Like he might, I don't know how long he'll go in if he starts or not. But like that's my theory. My theory is he's going to start because of that. That's the only thing I can think of.
But what do you think? Is he the guy that ruined Tyler Van Dyke?
That ruined him?
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll find out if they start him against North Carolina, and if he doesn't play well against that.
Is Josh Gaddis responsible for the?
There's no coming back from playing. There's no coming back from playing badly against Middle Tennessee and then a horrible North Carolina defense. There's no coming back from that, and it'll be clear to every fan in the country that Josh Gaddis has to make the change, and that's if Jake doesn't start, because we don't know. Jake might start. But I could see every reason why Josh Gaddis doesn't want to change it. I know Josh Gaddis from talking to people at Michigan, hard-headed, typical offensive coordinator. This is his guy. He wants to ride him or die, and he's going to find out if he dies or rides him against North Carolina. That's my personal opinion for what.
Why would anybody be his guy? Like, he's only been here for a few months.
It's his guy because they didn't give Jake Garcia a single first-team rep in the spring or the fall. Not a single one. We know because we would ask at the availabilities.
I mean, they felt like they had a clear-cut number one quarterback. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we don't know he didn't get any first round.
I asked Jake at the media day. He didn't get any first-team reps.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak one way or the other on that. All right, enough quarterback talk. That's going to do it for today. For Good Morning CaneSport, I hope they name the starter for North Carolina soon. I have a feeling that we'll be talking about this on a continual basis. But for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you once again for starting your day with us today. Have a great one. Those of you that are on the southwest coast of Florida, please be safe. Looks like a pretty bad storm coming through. And we'll check back in with you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.